interesting thing when you see someone that looks exactly like you on television, and I think that's, you know, one of the most important things now is that we reflect the diversity that is Australia. I think that's really, really important.
Gotcha.
Because history in general has been really whitewashed, and like in any country in the world, whoever is the conqueror is the person that gets to write the history. So I think it's really important that, you know, as people that are awake to these things now, that we shift that narrative ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, and wonderful things like SBS, for example, and having a space like NITV where we can tell our stories is really, really important. And I think it's so important that kids see themselves reflected. And I think that's also another really good and important thing with the AFLW, for example.
Yeah, totally.
That, you know, young girls are seeing women play a sport that they love and they enjoy, and that's another pathway that's been created because of that. So for me, you know, even at 5, it's something that sticks with you for a really long time, and it definitely shifts the way that you think about yourself and your
changed the trajectory
self-talk.
of your life.
Yeah,
And what you thought was possible in your mind for where you were heading.
No, 100%.
Amazing at 5 years old.
But how awesome now that you are that person for so many other Indigenous or women in general, but how powerful that you are that representation for young Indigenous kids to go, look at this. This is incredible. I can do that. Why not? Like you are what your 5-year-old self looked up to.
I think that's really cool. Like, I don't really think about it a lot, but people have said that to me, and I'm like, oh, you know, if I am that person to someone, like, that's great.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy that I am, and, you know, people, you know, I remember, I can't exactly remember who said it to me or where I heard it, but someone said, oh, you know, like, I want to be like you, and I said, and like my kind of response to that is like, no, be better. Like, be a better version of me, because I want you to excel more and more, and because I walk on the bridges of those who built the bridges before me, and I want to make that foundation stronger for the next, and then the next after that. So hopefully
you are.
So hopefully there's other young leaders that come up and do even bigger and better things.
Being a really shy girl, it's amazing that you ended up doing radio and then TV. Like, who would have thought? How did that come about?
Yeah, if I was like talking to like the former me and saying, yo, this is like all the stuff that you're doing right now, I'd have been like, get out of town. Couldn't have even done half of that stuff. So it's interesting just even thinking about that, and how far. And it's funny because you don't really have time to reflect on things. And I recently did a talk at Melbourne Girls Grammar, and basically it was a slideshow of my life and, you know, how far I'd come over the years and whatnot. And it was that moment where in that moment I got to reflect and look at all the different things that I'd done, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of stuff in, 11, 10 years or whatever the case may be. But again, Margaret has been a big part of my life and has essentially opened all those doors for me, which, I'm always really big on taking opportunities when they come at you. So, there's just been lots of opportunities put in my path, and I've said yes to a lot of them.
Because what were you studying when you got approached to say, we want you involved in this radio show and also the TV show? Yeah,
so I was literally 6 months out of high school.
Right.
When I got asked to do Margaret. So Margaret had already been going for a number of years on community radio, and Grant Hansen and J.S. Danino were the original creators of the radio show, because they saw that in mainstream radio and television that there was no Indigenous representative. So they
had to have known that you were into footy and stuff though, right?
Yeah.
Like you were around...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, how did you even know them, for them to know she would be ace?
Yeah, so Grant Hansen, who's the creator of Margaret, through our kinship system, he was a part of a band called Blackfire that used to tour with Yothiindi back in the day. So he was adopted into Yolngu family, and through our kinship system, I actually call him Dad. But to make life easier for people who freak out whenever they hear anything that's just a little bit too confusing, I just tell them that he's my uncle.
Right.
So I was like, oh, yeah, that's perfect. I get that. It's in a nice small neat box, and I understand that.
Yeah.
So
hold on, I don't want a neat box right now because I find this fascinating, and of course wasn't taught this at school.
Yep. Oh, you're not the only one. Lots
Yeah.
of people weren't taught.
Yeah, no, I know. Which and I honestly feel embarrassed even asking you because this should so be a part of what we are taught.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But can you explain the kinship, and even because you're engaged, and I just want to paint that picture of you know, a world that a lot of us are not familiar with.
Yeah, so basically in the Yolngu universe, which is the universe that I belong to because I'm Yolngu, and it would be generally similar in different communities.
Right.
And it would have been like that down here in Victoria as well, prior to colonisation. Yeah. But basically in the Yolngu universe, there's no such thing as a friend. So everyone is connected to you through your kinship system. So you know that this person over here, depending on their mulk, so each generation that's born is given a particular mulk, and every 5 generations it rotates back to the first, if that makes sense. So I'm Bilinyan, so anyone that's got the same skin name as me is my sister. And anyone that's Balangi is the opposite of me, so that person is my brother. And that's how you figure it out. So, so what happens is non-Indigenous people come into our space, and lots of Aboriginal people, lots of Yolngu, are really awkward around them for a period of time, and it's because they don't understand what their relationship is to that person.
Right, got you, okay.
But as soon as they're adopted, and I say, oh, this person is my yappa or my sister, oh yeah, now I know how I'm supposed to act around this person.
Right.
If I have an avoidance kinship with them, or if they are responsible for things for me, or I'm responsible for things for them.
Wow.
So it's that kind of concept that comes into play.
Wow, it's fascinating, isn't it? And how incredible.
So then Grant, when he was adopted into Ani Alme Yunupingu's family,
right,
which automatically made him my marlo or my dad, when he was adopted into that family, he basically was given responsibility. Right. So what happened was when I moved from Bendigo to Melbourne, family essentially rang him up and said, look, you know, Leila's moving to Melbourne. That now means that she's solely your responsibility.
Right.
So how do they choose who gets adopted in though? How did he get adopted in the first place?
It's connectedness.
Just through
friendship.
Right.
Yeah, okay. and spending time, and it's something that doesn't happen quite often. Okay. You know, it's not like something that's given like willy-nilly. And people need to understand that when you're adopted into family, it also means that you
got to do something.
You take
are given,
right.
like lots of responsibility. And you know, Zach's obviously understanding that now.
Who's your fiance,
yeah.
And so he was adopted in to your community.
Yeah.
And so then
he's got responsibilities.
Because you were saying that marriage is a very white premise. Yeah. Where you don't get married in your community because it's a part of your kinship. You two were essentially already married, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
That's right. So like when I got taken in essentially by Grant, when I moved here to Melbourne, then I became his sole responsibility.
Right.
So like he put me through my last year of high school, and all of the things that came into play with that. He had to pay for my mum's flight down to Melbourne to see me graduate, all that sort of stuff. And even now, like even though I'm 30, he's still responsible for me.
Wow.
So he still does things for me when I need them and whatnot. So it's like, it's a lifelong thing when you get adopted and you've got responsibility.
It's like a whole village, isn't it?
Yeah,
of
exactly.
Like raising people together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like I was born into that, but then people like Grant and Zach, for example, they are given that responsibility when they become a part of the family.
Yeah, right.
Mm.